This week on the Climbing the Summit podcast, we have my boy Nico Oliveira of the Easier Project on. This guy, he coaches, he facilitates for Olympic athletes. He coaches, he facilitates for musicians and people across the world. This guy is full of knowledge, full of information, and I know him from a course that we did a while back, Michael Neal's Super Coach Academy. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love the opportunity to drop into a space of open clarity with my boy Nico. Enjoy the podcast, and we'll catch you on the other side. You know how it is when you first move to a place. You're like, oh, how is it going to be? Are the people going to be all right? And, you're thinking about those kind of things. And I got here and it was like, amazing, bro. Amazing.
Nice. When did you move?
May 1st.
So you're very fresh.
Yes. I started doing something called the 75 Hard Challenge, which is a workout program / eating where you have to work out twice a day, read 10 minutes, take a progress picture, follow a diet, and there's something else in there. But what was cool about it is I was like, all right, well, there's the mountains. I've always loved hiking. I'm going to start hiking, or else we call, the things that we learned, man. It's like, is it your thinking or is it really what's going on? And so for a long time, I was telling myself, I'm not going to move, or I was telling myself, the reason why I'm not stepping up, the reason why I'm not speaking to more people is because of the area that I'm in, the reason just not being brought alive to life. But then now that we moved and we're here and I'm talking to people, like whether it's at the top of a mountain or just walking down the street, I'm like, yeah, like sometimes people say things and it's just talk. But for me, it was like, no, I've been preparing myself for this eventuality. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
I love it. How is the family?
I mean, they're amazing. Actually planned to, we tried karate or taekwondo for the first time for my son. And he loved it the first time. He so they had a private lesson the first time. He loved it. Second time he went in, they did the class and he enjoyed it. And then we watched the next class, and I think somewhere in there he got tired and he was watching. He was like, I don't want to go no more. So the wife was like reminding me that we're in a new place, a new space. Everything is new. He's never done that before. So give him a little time to ease himself into that. So family life has been very interesting. Wife loves the kids running around. You would think they have way more space. So we have an upstairs and downstairs now. They're like, y'all can have the whole downstairs. It's all y'all's. And they do not go down there, bro. They're like, we want to be up here with y'all.
That makes sense too.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
How's your family, man?
We're good. We have a new addition. We have a 5 months old.
Oh, what's your 5-month-old name?
Lucas.
So that makes 3, right?
No, 2 kids and 2 grown-ups. Or 4 kids, I don't know.
Okay, so you have 4 kids?
So I have 2 kids. One 8.5-year-old.
Uh-huh.
And his name is Aiden. And Lucas, who just arrived 5 months ago.
Oh, some reason I thought you had 2 already. But
but Aiden it counts as 2.
It's been a long time since we talked, man.
And but I think we spoke in the meantime. But I also moved to the mountain, but 3 years ago. I think we did speak.
We spoke about that. Yeah, I remember you were feeling very alive and very ready for life, really.
Yeah, and we're still here, and it's gorgeous. I don't know how long it's just I have no reason to think that we're gonna move. But at the same time, if I look at my past. I've been like 3 4 years in Milan, 3 4 years in Dublin, 3 4 years in Amsterdam. So it's statistically unlikely that we're gonna be here. But for now we're here, we're enjoying, and we have no reason to change. So yeah, no, family life is great. Like my wife had a little bit of a hard time after, like physically, there have been a little bit of problems during the birth,
Mhm.
and so she's still 5 months later. She's still recovering. That's kind of like unfortunate for her. And but besides that, the little baby is healthy, and the big one is very is more loving than we thought. The little one, and so that's sweet. And the baby is just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, he looks at us and he smiles and it's cute, right? And he looks at other people. But when the brother shows up, he's like completely like attracted and fascinated. And his favorite place in the world, even when the brother is at school, if I put him on his brother's bed, he's like, it's just like, I don't know, but it's really, really cool to. It's just, it's easier. I don't even know, because it's 5 months. So I don't think he's thinking any of that. But just somehow it has a natural attraction for his brother, and I think it's good. And the brother likes it.
Yeah, that you have to like enjoy that and to think, hey, maybe I'm not gonna get any help here, but then to see that not only you're gonna get some help, but it's a loving embrace and that we all have that same like thing within us if we're put in the right place, right time, right space. So that's awesome. So I was gonna ask how you and the wife are handling, a new 5 month year old, but because I know you're always out traveling, you got you're full time doing things and
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, thankfully, okay. Well, in all fairness, I think towards the end of last year, I had to slow down a lot of the
mm,
things we was working on, because she was in a lot of pain, and right before and right after, and so I was definitely needed, and I was happy to have. I still am. As you know, my job allows me to work online most of the time. Like, I do travel, we do go and see this team or that player, but the good news is that if I don't want to, I can do it online.
yeah, if you need
So
to.
in that respect, I'm here a lot, and currently she didn't start working yet again, and we're on that respect we're okay. Like,
Yeah.
so far so good. It's just, look, honestly, it's the only like little thing is the fact that for her, that she's not physically fully back, and uh, you see someone you love that is in pain. It's not fun, but.
Uh,
But also, she's really like, I don't know, I love the spirit she's showing with this, and
man,
slowly, step by step.
my heart goes out to you, man, because my wife had preeclampsia. So she
That's
was doing great, and then all of a sudden, heart rate was up, her blood pressure was out of control, and they were like, "Yo, we got to rush you back here." So it was interesting. It's interesting being in the hospital room with a person you love, and you're having giving birth to a new life, but seeing the person you love on the table and they're incoherent, really, they can't really, and then to see the amount of stress, strain that's put on the body for women,
Yeah,
especially. Um, just as a man, as a person, as the husband, as the father of the children, it's just like you just want your whole family to be as happy and healthy as possible. And I'm willing to take whatever burden, whatever brunt there is in that regard, um, because the family is life. And when you said that you slowed down last year in order to, be at the house more. Like on one scale, like bro, it's like, oh man, business, my goals, and my dreams, my aspirations. But on another hand, it's like, isn't this what we're here for? This family
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And look, I am in that respect very, very blessed and aware of it, because when I say slow down, it's like I slowed down from slow. Right.
Mm,
So I mean, it's not like, yeah, because I was waking up at 6 a.m. and going working till 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning, and then I had to slow down. I was like, thank God. I believe what you said. For me, that's, what they say is a bit of a cliche, but it's true. You don't, what was that? Live to work, but you work to live. Like, there's no point, right? So, and with the work I do, which allows me to kind of pick my own times and stuff like that. Uh, in general, I get to have a lot of family time. It's just that then there was even more need, even from like the house and then my wife bring the kid here, bring the kid there, pick up, go to the hospital. So even like for a few months, I literally had to just, what, even those hours I would dedicate to work, I would be like, for now, no. But no, I hear it's true. But I'm aware. uh, it has been, this for me, it has been such a big thing, because I was the opposite. Like, I always had my own businesses and things, so I wasn't necessarily, employed, but I would always add one more hour, right? And that changed over the years. But what I remember last year, really at the beginning of last year, before the pregnancy, a couple of months before the pregnancy, it just occurred to me, because I have diabetes. And for whatever reason, there's no, but and I'm not generalizing. For me, the way it shows up in my body and the thing, I know for a fact that if I do a classic 8+ work day, 5, 6 days a week, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. I started making it just, my body needs a different pace.
yes.
For the longest time, I saw that as an obstacle. So I fought with myself. So it was more like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to show your body that I can do it anyway. For some period, I tried to manage it. I was like, yeah, okay, this sucks, but I can cope with it. And then somewhere, like really at the beginning of last year, sort of like, oh, this is not another part of me, it's me. See, if I had, I don't know, if I don't speak Russian, but in no point it looks like a limitation. Like, yeah, well, if only I was able to speak Russian, I could get all these Russian clients and all this. It's just I don't speak Russian. So I base what I do on the fact that I currently don't speak Russian. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or I'm a man, I'm not a woman. So it doesn't occur to me, because like, well, that's just, it is what it is. It's part of who I am right now. But the diabetes, the health always looked like, no, that's not part of me. That's something else that is being attacking me and becoming an obstacle to what I want. The moment I saw that, like, oh, it's just part of me. So I take this into account just like anything else. And it's not true that then I cannot have a business, or I cannot have a life that I love. And so new ideas started to come. And I saw it all completely different. So then how the work week got scheduled, all of these things suddenly changed. It was very big. And then when my wife asked me, "Do you think we can have another kid?" That was one of my biggest fears. Like, I found this revelation where now I am really thriving in my body. The pace is right, and I was sort of like terrified to, like, yeah, but if you add the baby in the mix, I'm gonna go back there. And so for a couple of weeks, I was like, I don't know. I told her I don't know. And then I also realized, oh, I'm making it up. I have no idea what's like. I'm making up that with the baby, I won't be able to listen to my body. was like, oh, I don't know anyway. So, and as soon as I saw that, it was hilarious. We were in bed. I told her, yeah, let's do it. And she was, what? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I surprised my. It was such an obvious. The moment all these stories dropped, it was so obvious. It was like, oh, yeah. And she was, yeah, but what about this? What about that? Like, yeah, well, I don't know, but we don't know anyway, so we might as well do what we want, you know?
That sounds like such a place of freedom, such a place of openness, and such a place of like, I think the deep breath is a better description than my words can kind of describe, right? But I do wonder, like, you make it sound so easy, bro. And like, I understand the principles. I understand where we're coming from. But for the people out here who have not heard about the principles or anything like that, how come it sounds so easy?
The answer that comes to me is not going to be the good one, you know, that you're going to like. But for me, it's like, well, how come it looks? Because it is. I think what's cool for anyone is not like, oh, it's not easy because I'm cool. It's not easy because I figured something or it's special or whatever. It's like, it's the easiest thing in the world to be alive and do what occurs to us. And I get, because for me, for the longest time, didn't look like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm not saying, oh, how could you not see it?
yeah,
But it is. It's just I didn't know. I thought I had to make it easy. I had to make something inherently hard, and I had to develop the skills that would make it bearable or easy or whatever. No, it
yeah.
turns out it already is. Doesn't make sense.
How did you like, when was that turning point? What did it feel like when it happened? Because the last time we talked, I remember you telling a story about the Eiffel Tower, and it's always stuck with me, bro. Where you were like, "Do you sell tickets to the lift, or do you sell tickets to the view?" And in my mind, I was like, "Yo, bro, I'm selling tickets to the view." And you were like, "Well, like." It could be a stormy day. It could be a windy day. It could be any kind of day. You don't know what a person's going to see. You don't know which direction they're going to look. And you were talking about, but if you sell tickets to the lift, if you show people how to raise their level of consciousness, they're going to have a different experience of life. And I remember you made it sound so easy then. And so, can you speak to that a little bit?
You know what comes to mind when you're speaking, and I don't know if I'm speaking more to that, but this is what's coming to mind is that um, that part for me when I was sharing it was about something I saw about what's my job,
Mhm.
right? And it was about like, okay, do what am I responsible for you seeing what I want to see, or not, or that, or is that something that's already built in you once you're up there, you know, once you took the lift, and it's not. And so what I've been seeing recently that is being very profoundly interesting about the idea of what's my job, what's our job as people is that it's looking more and more to me, and this is very in the making. So I don't have a lot of words for it. It might be messy and confused, but it's really looking more and more to me like any job is redundant.
Yeah, yeah. Speak to that.
Any job is redundant. And when I say job, I mean any imposed action, whether it's from ourselves, well, like it's my job to do this, or it's your job to do that, right? Like, because when let's you know, we've been talking about families and you know and kids, so I think a cool way of seeing it is in parenting. I don't know if this is your experience, but in my experience, anytime I think I need my kid to behave a certain way, right? And I'm making my job to give him the job. I don't know, it's like clean up your room, whatever it is. There are two possible outcomes. One, in the case of my kid, very likely it just sort of like doesn't do it, you know. Or two, if I'm particularly convincing, it does, but it does grudgingly. It doesn't. it brings to whatever it is, to cleaning the room, to doing the homework, whatever. It brings willpower and a negative feeling more often than not. When and in any area where I caught myself, I'm like, oh, I wasn't trusting him. Because that's it. Like, we use jobs when we don't have trust, right? So, oh, I wasn't trusting. And anytime I'm like, oh no, but he knows. Leave it space. So far, he always, in his own time, found it in himself to care for his room, to care for him, whatever it is. But when he did it from that play, it was incredible because it was his energy. It was out of love, out of something that he wanted to do. He did it better and was easier. Yeah. We do that with ourselves. So think about it. I am convinced, at least this is for me and anyone I work with, is like, think of all the jobs you give yourself. Anything that you're reminding yourself right now, anything you're like, okay, yeah, but I really have to make sure that I make enough calls. Otherwise, I'm not going to get clients. I'm going to put 50 people there. It's there because you don't trust that without that, you would do it. Or you would do what's right for you in your business. So let me make sure. Boom, boom, boom. Now, this is it's like a week old, okay? It's like, so.
The freshness that you're bringing to it has a feeling to it. And listening to Michael, listen to Elsie, listening to all those mentors, they talk about Sid Banks. Find the feeling, and the people who are meant to hear the message will hear the message. And when you were just speaking about our children and how jobs sometimes are redundant, I was thinking about that myself with my significant other. Right? It's like I have several YouTube videos spanning probably about 3 or 4 years that talk about my wife and burnt toast. So there was one time where my wife burnt some toast and I was just livid, bro. I was like, how could you possibly burn some toast? This is back closer to our Super Coach Academy days, right? And then like seeing how crazy it was for me to get upset with her about some toast. And then it was a year or two later, she did the same. Like she burned something different, some popcorn. I don't know what it was. And you can go back and watch the video if you're out there. And I walked outside, and I wasn't upset. I was still upset, but I didn't display that upsetness towards her. I walked outside. I was like, I called a friend. Me and the friend are talking. You know anything about the Matrix?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Jason Depp, Jason Depp, and he was in our
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
Me and him, we talk all the time. His thing is the Matrix, and we were talking about computer systems. And he's like, anytime you get upset with yourself about something you did, you're slowing down the update that inevitably happens when we notice. So we're outside. I'm doing that. I'm kind of calmer than I ever been before. Maybe 2 years goes by. She didn't burn nothing. It was a day, not very long ago, bro. And she put some eggs on the burner and she walked away. She was gone. And I felt this thought go, is she gonna burn some eggs? And that thought led me to go take care of the eggs. So it's so like it's fascinating how day one we notice, we don't see it's far above our heads. And this is I think in regard to our children too. It's like as they progress in age, as they progress in wisdom, as they see us do things, they have more channels unlocked to them. And so it just takes time and attention for some of these unlocks to happen. So that's why it's always fascinating for me to come back and interview and talk to you, because like you would drop wisdom, like all kinds of, like every time we talk, bro, last time we talked, you were traveling, you were traveling and you were part of a music show and you were doing that kind of thing. It's like You were spreading positivity in that way, and that's what I love. Is like if you are a human being and you start yesterday or today or tomorrow, whatever day you want to start, certain things will start unlocking if you stop putting your foot on yourself, stop putting your foot on your neck and all that other stuff. And so I really enjoy how, even though this is super fresh for you, the vibration that comes through when you talk about it. And especially, my wheelhouse is parenting, bro. That's where I find all the goodies, man. So when you were talking about you got a 5-month-year old and it's like, oh, now we got new dynamics. We thought we had it all worked out. And that's what you said earlier is I had it all worked out within me, and then we had a baby, and now things are different. How does how does this mountaintop, how does your personal summit, your ultimate let me pause here. I don't talk about goals as much anymore because of you.
I do think we have a sense of direction, right? So I don't know. That's not a goal, but if you ask me, oh, what would be cool? Where are you going? Like there are answers to that question, and knowing that what you find as you move in that direction is possibly much bigger than what you can imagine now, then doesn't make you waste as much energy in trying to detail, like, to go really into the detail of the whole every step and where and how and what it's going to look and is it smart or is it not smart as I go, like, you know, because you're like, I don't know, but something is telling me I want to go there. And currently, professionally, is me and my colleague, we have this sense that performance could be such a natural and wonderful kind of like a stage for bringing basically what we just discussed easily to the world. Because I'm thinking, we know, right? You and I, we know, we heard stories in our workshops and courses and whatever, and all the people around us of incredible things happening in prisons, in whatever, in mostly in business. That's really our, like, I think 80%, or individual people that like had their struggle and they found a lot of help in looking in this direction. But all of this is in a way is invisible. So even if you work with a CEO of the biggest company you can think of, you and the CEO will know that, and the employees will feel it. But that's, what I mean. Like, it's still behind closed doors. And my sense is that, imagine, and I look into football, like soccer, being the biggest sport in the world, but in general, any sport, like, it's seen by yesterday was a big game here. There were like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of people connected, 80,000 in the stadium, 2 million people tried to look for the ticket. Like, it's a massive thing. And this was a semi-final. Okay. So imagine then the final, okay, of the Champions League. And everyone talks about it. And there were shows before, for days before, and there are shows after talking about it. So imagine if the actors of this, the 22 players, 11 and 11 of the two teams, and the coaches and the people, imagine everyone coming from their best, coming from love, coming from that incredible, like, here's my guess. One, games would be incredible because, man, it would be every single athlete would be in the zone. Can you imagine the freaking level of play that would be outstanding? And two, what you were saying, you're like, oh, regardless of what you're saying, I can feel the energy behind what you're saying. So, but the 80,000 people in the city will feel that. And then these players will do interviews, and the people, it's so visible. And in our culture, we're all looking at performance. It's not just sport, right? Like anything. It's like, how do I perform? And there's so many wrong, misunderstandings over there about, like, yeah, no pain, no gain. You gotta do this. Imagine the power if we change football or sports, my goal, which isn't, but the direction, what's calling for me, for us right now, this project is, what if these athletes would know, and therefore I think we could change, it become like, how do you call it in English, like a resonance, like a guitar, that it has the body that sort of like vibrates and amplifies the sound, something like that. So in that respect, that's the current summit, which is not really a summit.
Yes, I got two questions. First, what's your team?
The Champions League, my team is Inter Milan, my favorite.
Ah,
But I had to say, and they were after a long time in the semifinal, and we won yesterday.
hey.
But working in a professional sport now, it changes a little bit the dynamics of being just a supporter versus, because I work with a lot of other teams, and it changes how you experience the whole
Gotcha.
kind of industry,
So
but in a cool way.
what's your edge right now, man? Because I mean, in service of climbing to your own personal summit, there's a lot of fake false summits, right? You think you get to a summit, you think you're there, and oh, whoop, there's the other one right there that we didn't know that existed. What is that edge for you?
Can you ask it in another way, please?
Yes, yes. So okay, yeah. So remember, like when we were at Michael Neal, Super Coach, we talked about the unknown. We talked about stepping into the unknown, right? And so, like we always talk about with our clients, we're looking to get to their edge, looking to get to that place where they don't know what the next step will be. They don't know where that is, but they just have a sense, a feel that when they take that next step, it'll be there. I didn't know if there's somewhere like that with you now.
I What I'm gonna do after this call?
Like so in your career, oh my fault.
No, no. I
Yeah,
mean, no, but
yeah,
it was. I'm serious. It's like the two things. One about the false summits. I don't, the way it was coming, but I get it, because that's how we talk about. Jack is sort of like, oh yeah, I thought it was this, and like, oh my god, actually, I have to climb more. It sounds like I'm hating the climb, and I can't wait to get there. Because it's the only reason. Why would I mean? You now move to the mountains. You go hiking. You think that the hike is finished, after, behind that corner, and you realize, ooh, there's more. The only reason why that's bad news is if you freaking hate it.
uh,
Or you say, yeah, but no, maybe I'm just tired, I want to go home. Cool, you can turn and go home. And then the only reason why you wouldn't do that is if you think that turning back and go home means that you are a horrible person or a failure or what. So I think like, I know I'm off track temporarily when it feels like that. When it feels I'm acting in service of something, I suffer now for tomorrow's reward, right? That, and something happens, because it happens. So, and when it happens, I'm like, oh wait, not this.
so I went for a hike just a couple days ago with a person, and it was like supposed to be a 2.5, 3 hour hike. I'm looking at the map and I'm like, oh, if we go this way, we haven't been before. Not very much extra added. It ended up adding an extra mile and a half. But at the very peak, with the person that I was with, we were coming back and they were ecstatic. I mean, they were like, oh my God, I feel great. This is amazing. Oh. And the moment we took that other route, their energy shifted and changed. And what was fascinating was I get a lot of insights on hikes, bro. And we ended up hiking into a space that had this beautiful view of Denver. We're probably 20, 25 miles away from it. I could see it. And like, I don't recognize what's going on until I walk off. So we walk off, we go around the bend, and I instantly start hearing noise again. And I didn't know how quiet and silent it was where I was sitting at the top of that mountain. Right. So what happened was I go in, It's beautiful. I don't say a word. Nothing is said. I just sit down and I don't even notice the silence until I walk off and leave. And it's something about that you just said where it's like, oh, there's more. There's more fun to be had. That really led me to more insights, leads me to finding exactly what you're speaking about is that next step, even though I don't necessarily see it before it's there. So I have to thank you again, bro, because as I've been shifting and molding the podcast, right, recognizing that, like, so I called it Climbing the Summit originally, or it's called Climbing the Summit. And I was thinking about your base camp when you're climbing towards a summit, right? So if I go climb Mount Everest, I can climb so high and then I have to come back down. You know a little bit about this, right? I have to come back down, I have to reacclimate, I have to be in my base camp. And what was important was to talk to people about what it means to be in a base camp. And I'm still putting words to it, still putting thought to it. And what I've done in most of my podcasts previously is helped people to see those synchronicities in their journey for them to climb towards the top. But when you said that if I get to a false summit and I see that thing and I'm like, God dog it, there's another one. There's potentially, yeah, it's time to go home. It's time to pick up and go home. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because at home, you get the opportunity to go back out and see those things that you enjoy, do something different. And I'm just like, wow, bro. Wow.
You know what I think it's cool is that the image is super cool, right? The climb, it's cool, especially now living in the mountain. You do get rewarded. It's gorgeous. You got it up there, and it's like, oh my god. But the thing that I always, the only part about the metaphor that I find sometimes misleading is that it does take effort, to climb a mountain. It does take. I do think that we could use this metaphor and say, oh, this is such a perfect metaphor because of the beauty. Yeah, life is like climbing a mountain, man. It's gorgeous. Every corner, there's a new tree and a thing and a flower and a brand new view and a lake. And if we would talk about like life is like climbing a mountain in that sense, I can see like, oh man, that's a perfect metaphor. But a lot of us hear it as, yeah, life is climbing a mountain because it's hard and it's vertical and it's painful and it takes your breath and, you know, you may fall. Yeah, like it, it, and that probably is a cool way to kind of circle back at the end of our call. And when you were saying, hey, why does it look so easy? It's just, I think it's in the setup. See, if I wake up and for me, it's like, well, yeah, well, life is a hard mountain to climb full of potential, like slavines and things and whatever. And like, then anything you hear, well, cool, but it's going to be in that sense. And if you see like, hey, you know what? You don't have to make it up like that because it isn't. That changes everything. I don't know if it's making sense, but it kind of occurred to me as you were sharing.
Bro, I keep feeling the feeling, bro. And that's what I get excited about in these podcasts is speaking to you, man. It's like you're one of those people that if I speak to you for any length of time, it's like clarity. And that's because we're meeting in a way, it's like we're meeting like in this space of open possibility. And I just love being in this space. That's why I podcast, right? It's like what you were saying about the climb, about the metaphor. It's like I could even see that in my podcast, right? Where it's like 2 years ago, it's like, okay, I want to be the best podcaster in the world. So what do I need to do? I got to get everything in order. And then now I remember when I woke up, bro, and it was like, it's not too long ago. And there's always these wake ups, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm re-seeing the same thing again in a different way. But the wake up call was, oh, this is hard. This isn't fun. This I'm not. I'm doing this for other people. And then the moment I was like, yo, bro, I enjoy being a conversationalist. I love talking to people who get me feeling in a good space. I love the opportunity to almost everybody I know, bro, got some sort of nugget of wisdom, some sort of gem that they can drop. And once I recognized that any and everybody can be our teacher if we slow down, it changed my life. And earlier today, you said you slowed down from a place of slowing, already being slowed down. Like, is there a feeling to that space? Can you go into what that meant for you?
Yeah, it's I don't have words. It's the feeling. As that's what you're saying. It's like it's the same that we felt, that I felt, that you felt now as we talk. And dude, as you said, it's more like, isn't it wonderful what happens when two human beings connect? I didn't come up with this, with the metaphor, with those stuff. Like, it's just, isn't it amazing when we are connected with who we really are and open our mouth and speak, and what comes out of it? It's incredible. Yeah.
We, when we get that those thoughts about what it means or how it's gonna what it's how it's gonna mean it. Yeah, I was talking to a friend, man, and this is another thing that was really powerful. Just talking, even talking to you now, is recognizing that anything that I'm saying, anything that I'm doing, I'm coming from that space. And there was a time where I didn't believe that I was coming from that space. I thought that I was coming from left field. I was coming from somewhere else. And the impact of it, not just on this podcast, but in the places for me that really matter, like my family, right? With my kids. It's like I used to be so angry about because I thought I needed everything to be my way. Right. But then when I started looking at that journey, man, started looking at the hike and noticing they have their own wisdom. They have their own, they have their own like way of being. And if I could just be a support system to that and help them create what they're trying to create versus stifling that versus trying to get them to see what I want them to see with the Eiffel Tower view, um, it's just like, wow, how much more powerful as human beings when we meet in this space and we're both riding that elevator together. So, man, I
Indeed,
appreciate
you sound pretty good at it. So thank you for having me. Thank
it,
you for
bro.
having me on the elevator.
So, the elevator of consciousness. So is there any projects you're working on right now, man? Is there anything you got going?
Yeah, that's so my what the way I call what I do is the easier project, which is um, what I do with our coaching, with our programs. And as I was saying, before, we really are currently, we do work with United Nations, with companies, whatever. But right now, we're focused a lot on sports, because again, there's a lot of need first, but second, I think we can really light up the world if we show everyone that we can achieve incredible things with love.
Yeah, yeah. Man, now that you said that, I did want to. There was a question that I had earlier. You talked about your partnership. I wondered how y'all got involved, how like what that's like. Is that how does that help and or hinder your journey?
But you mean in work?
Business a business partnership, yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So he was a client.
Yeah.
He was a client a few years ago, and it basically, like, after a few months, it was like this thing changed his life, and he's like, you know what? Uh, I want to bring this to the world. So uh, I got really lucky because I found just the perfect person to co-create with. And it's simple because I do the work, and in terms of the coaching sessions, and he's incredible as opening doors and imagining, new directions and bringing. So it's such a cool. There's such a cool complementarity there, and kind of what you were saying with Jason, like, we spend hours exploring, talking, and and that enriches us and therefore the people we work with. So it's no, there were no. The moment I saw again that trust is a better choice than jobs, tasks, because initially it was my instinct, like, all right, so let's make sure that by Friday we have this, and that. But nothing wrong with it. But the moment that I remember we had a conversation, and what I heard when he was talking to me was like, "Dude, I got this. I finally heard it, so I could figure like, oh, he got this, and I got this, so we're good. I don't need to check and like, and that compared to different business partnerships in all my history of different projects, that was a game changer. When I really heard, dude, I got this, and I believed him.
Wow, man. Like that's the synchronicities, man, right? Like we fall like we're just living our life, we're just doing our thing, and then the right thing, the right person, the right place, the right time, the right whatever shows up. And it had nothing to do with what we're doing other than us being who we are. And so, man, what is it like? Last but not least, what is it like working with sports athletes versus musicians last time around, right?
Yeah, yeah. So as that we it's not obviously an exclusive thing. Like we do work, which I think is
Of
super
course.
cool because I work with CEOs or students or creative people, artists, and we're just in our own outreach going way more in that direction because it's calling us. And I say it because one of the most recent thing that I came to see working with professional athletes, Olympic athletes, or really like was like, oh, it's the same. And it sounds weird, but like I swear, like obviously, at some level, I knew it because if I thought it was super different, I wouldn't have gone there because I know I can help these people or whatever. But at some level, it still seemed like, yeah, now let's take this and let's bring it into sport. Kind of like it's a different thing. And this for 1.5, almost 2 years, like very like only the last few months, I'm really like as I speak with head coach and you see what they're sharing and what's happening to them. You're like, oh, it's like, oh, it's this. It's just that they do a different job.
Yeah.
Like it's really that's the only thing I can tell you that is different is their profession. So it's as different as talking with a professor and with a creative director. So that's the thing. But because this is a cool answer, yeah, we're all the same, which is true. But I give you also one that is more, interesting. It's since oh god, like we went a couple of weeks ago to Tuscany where we have like a few people we work with, and we had a project there. And among we work also with like a top team there, and we started recently. And I was talking with the coach. We had I think 2 sessions, okay, to that point. And they come to me, and I'm like, okay, great. So what would be great? What would be great today? What do we want to talk about? And they are like, uh, well, there's this big game, and it's so hard because this is like a super strong team, and I don't know. I need new answers. I need solutions because this is not where like like that. Uh, and I listen, and in a nutshell, because obviously it was a 1 hour and something conversation, but really in a nutshell, she was saying, I have this game and I don't know how to prepare a game. By the end of our conversation, she saw the difference between preparing a game, which you can't win because it's made up, and preparing a game, which is their job. Man, this. the game went like they made history, like they got a result that just never happened in that stadium before, something crazy. And they were confirming, like, oh, I can see the link from that conversation. So what I'm going to add to what's different with us is that I know it was with my business partner the following week at dinner, and we're saying, oh, we may have underestimated this because we were like, oh my, even in terms of results, we spoke twice with this person. Look at this in a very tangible result of the game kind of way. So what's different with that is it's so cool because you can get a deeper glimpse of how powerful it truly is when we show up as ourselves.
Man, thank you for that's like the fifth or sixth time I've went into the space of like I just see the possibility in my own world, in my own life. Because when I reflect on what you're saying, I can hear the truth that shines in my own life. That this isn't something that's portable. That what you're saying about, they just have a different job. They're humans. And we as humans, we get caught up thinking that we got things going on and they not real. So
But isn't it cool we are made to notice once we kind of are pointed in that direction?
that's the coolest bit of it all, man. It's that none of us are broken. None of us are flawed. We don't need somebody to come fix us. But if somebody can help us in any way be realigned with what is true in our own wisdom, I think, like you said, man, each and every one of us has the potential to like do things that we just didn't think were possible. And the fact that you're showing up in the sports space and yeah, I get it. Like it's just sports, but at the same time, their outreach because like one like what Christian was Ronaldo. What's his name? Ronaldo. What's
Yeah, yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah.
Cristiano? Yes, like that guy. Like if you sat down and spoke with him, and y'all had a great conversation, his game changed. He goes out and he speaks about whatever that is. Millions of people's lives are impacted off of that one conversation, and I see that power because there's another person. We surrounded with these people, man. It's somebody that's working with the Green Party over in Europe because they believe that if that party, if those people, if they come alive, there's a different opportunity for the country to move in the direction that that person specifically is hoping that the country as a whole can move. And I just know so many people who are working with these and it's not even they're working with these industries so that they can do like so that the message gets out to the next person. You're just doing it because A, it's who you are, but B, that person sitting in front of you is able to do what they need to do. Step outside of their own head and do what they need to do. That's that's what it means to climb towards your own personal summit. So Nico, I appreciate you being here, my guy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have any closing
I feel
words for people?
recharged. Thank you so much. You're such a wonderful like space holder. So
Bro. We all have our little gifts.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. Man. Thanks for inviting me. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you. Hey, much love. Spend the time with the
And
family.
dude,
Enjoy it.
best of luck with this new adventure. You're 10 days into it. 11.
I love it. And I'm loving it.
Ah, awesome, man.
100%.